Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Okay, great. Uh, we're going to get into it today. Everybody watching live, welcome. Everybody watching the replay, welcome as well. You're just as welcome here. It is a Friday. It's 20 September that we're filming this, and we're going to do a little something different today. Talk about hiring. I know a lot of you guys follow me for lead generation and marketing, virtual wholesaling. Love talking about that. But guys, let's talk about what actually gets the business going, and that's people. I love talking about my team. I love it. I love hiring because it allows me to focus on my zone of genius. However, hiring can be a very difficult can just be very difficult on a lot of people because they don't know where to start with hiring. They don't teach this in school. Honestly, I met with some MBA not graduates, but they were MBA students at UNC Chapel Hill. Last night I was out on the town and struck up a conversation. And one question I always was meaning to ask a lot of people in the MBA programs was basically, do they cover hiring our staff, our team members, or anything like that? Hiring team members in these programs. And they said they have to take a personality test when they first start, but they don't really go over hiring in the program, which I thought was pretty wild. A master's of business administration. And really, that's why I'm talking about this today. A lot of the YouTube lives I do, guys, you have to forgive me if they're not scheduled. I try to have some sort of schedule, but it's really when the inspiration hits me. And I find that doing these impromptu like this, it just allows for a lot more soul to soul interaction. Okay. So right now, I'm going to post this on my channels and we should get a little bit more participation here. Again, I posted this a few hours ago, so I don't know what the participation is going to be like. I have a couple of topics I want to cover, and I think it'll be good for anyway for replay value. But if you guys have questions, go ahead and chime in. But just give me one moment to make sure I am going. My audio is good in my channels. About 2 minutes. Okay, great. So I'm back. Back. Just had to post to my Facebook group. So I think we're good. I think we're streaming. I think the audio is good on Facebook, YouTube, all of that. And let me just close my windows here. As soon as I went live, somebody started mowing grass and weed eating right beside me. So I had to close the windows. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. I love talking about this topic. If you guys have followed me for a while, you guys already know I love talking about personality types. I love talking about hiring. I love talking about building teams. Really, what I'm going to show you guys is just like the process I use behind the scenes of like how I evaluate my hires. Because here's a problem. I'm going to lay this out. How do you know who's going to be a good fit for you? A lot of people say, well, you just don't know. Do you go off of their resume? Do you go off of their, referral? Do you go off of the interview? That's usually what a lot of people do. Guys, a lot of people usually just go off of the, interview, or excuse me, the resume. And that's not going to cut it, guys. To be honest, whenever I'm hiring people, that's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm looking at their hard skills, but I'm also looking at their soft skills. I'm also looking at their personality type. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. I'm just going to type up some notes here, and we'll go through some actual live examples here. So let me share my screen here. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I evaluate people's personalities as well. So if you guys want me to do your human design chart or what I call my astrotype personality model, that's what I use. I basically combine people's birthday profiles and their Myers-Briggs to develop a particular archetype for them. I can tell you where the best fit you fit in your company in real estate, what tasks you should be doing, what tasks you shouldn't be doing. And that's like something I do for free. I don't charge for that or anything. I love doing that. All right, let's get into it. So step one. What we first have to do, guys, is we have to first define the job role. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people don't know what they're hiring for. So if you're trying to figure out where you're going, I'm going to Miami this weekend. Shout out to my Miami investors. I'm going to be down there for probably a week or so. I actually booked a one-way flight, so I might be down there indefinitely. So if you guys want to link up, just let me know. But we need to define the job role. If I'm going to Miami and then I'm getting in that plane and then there's no destination in mind, we don't really know what right looks like. We don't know when we're going to arrive, right? So same thing here. We need to define what the end goal is for the hire we're making. So that's not just saying I need a cold caller. That's not just saying I need an acquisitions manager. What task? Think about it. What task does that person need to be able to do? What soft skills do they need to have? Meaning interpersonal skills. And again, we are not hiring superhumans. Are you a superhuman yourself, guys? Probably not. So we need to state what soft skills and hard skills are of higher priority and lower priority. Okay. I have a little bit of lag here, guys. My streaming software has been a little bit buggy recently, so just bear with me. Bear with me here. I'm going to share my whole screen with you guys. Something like jacked up on my stream last week, a few days ago, and not everybody got the notification. So hopefully the replay is good here. So we need to be able to define that job role, and we need to be able to prioritize, okay? Prioritize the soft and hard skills of this role. Again, nobody is superhuman. So whoever you hire, is going to be strong in a few areas and weak in others. All right, you have to determine what is acceptable for you. And this goes into also not trying to hire one person to do a ton of things for you. Excuse me, a lot of separate job roles for you. So don't try to put the whole business on one employee. And if any of y'all, which I imagine ever worked a 9-to-5 job, even if you've been an entrepreneur for the majority of your adult life, at one point you probably did work for a corporation, probably a Fortune 500 or Inc. 5000 company at the minimum. But even in a small business, mom and pop business, we have the same issues where there's usually a handful of employees pulling the weight of the entire company. Maybe not in a small mom and pop business, but probably once you get around, 20, 30, 40 plus employees, you're in a factory, things of that nature, you're going to have a few employees that are going to be basically taking the load, taking majority of the load and picking up the slack for others. And I was that person in every job I was at, and it's just in me, right? It's in my Clifton Strengths Finders profile, where I'm a maximizer and I want to work for the best. I want to do the best work I can, and I want to be the best I can. It's just in me. And it may not be in others, but I still think if you're going to do any job, you're going to do it at 110%. You're not going to slack off. Like, I wasn't taught that. My parents didn't teach me that. They didn't raise me that way. And if you're watching me and you like what I hear, it's probably because we're kindred spirits in that regard. So you guys are my people here. But again, to get back to the point at hand, we don't want to put the whole business on one employee. Why does this happen? Because you, the owner, lucked out with this hire. So you're hoping and praying that nothing happens to this person that causes them to leave. And that's a bad position to be in, because at any point, if that employee gets sick, or worst case scenario, guys, I actually had a guy that I spoke with here on Facebook a few years ago during pandemic, and his VA died of COVID. And his VA, he just got into real estate maybe like a year or two before that, and he found like a 1 in a million VA, and he basically closed deals for him. He did cold marketing, text messaging, locked up properties, moved them to buyers. He basically did the whole process for like less than $10 an hour. I believe the gentleman was in Baltimore, but after that employee died, guess what? Back to the basics. Really, he didn't even know the basics. So it's very important, guys, to understand how to hire, because it will catch up with you. So this is something I had to learn over time. It's not something that I just woke up knowing how to do. And I'll share the story with you about why I became so obsessed with this, is because there was a time where I was just going off of resumes, like most of you guys probably are doing now. And I think it was like 2017 or 18. I was hanging out with a friend, and we had a rager at her house and it was like 3:00 in the morning. And for some reason I was still up. I think I was about to go home, and I like looked at my phone, and I checked my phone. I was about to head back home, and I saw that a previous employee that I let go, it wasn't a harsh firing. I thought we parted ways pretty, friendly, amicably, rather, is a better word for it. And there was no bad blood or anything there. Her name was Joyce, and she was a Filipino VA. I hired her to be an executive assistant, but she just wasn't a good fit for me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but she just wasn't a good fit for what I needed. I needed more somebody with an operations mind. I think she was more of like an executive assistant, somebody who would talk, who likes talking a little bit more than the computer work. I needed somebody who just could be a powerhouse. So I let her go. And this was about 2 weeks later. I was hanging out with a friend. It was 3 a.m. I just see these PayPal I guess, invoices get sent to her. and in the Philippines PHP, I don't know what it was at the time, but it was a large amount, and basically was 500 USD she was sending. And so she waited until she thought I was asleep and she still had access to my PayPal, and she sent herself $500. And then it was 500, 500, 500. It was like once every 2 minutes. And PayPal was closed, and I was logged out of my account. I was locked out. She changed my password, and she changed the phone number on file. She stole from me. It hurts to say to this day. I think this is the first time I said that out loud, that this woman stole from me. And I was taken aback. I said, man, this happened to me. What if I wasn't awake? She could have siphoned. PayPal would have stopped it, but I mean, I had a lot of money in my PayPal account at that time. She could have taken me for everything I had in my PayPal account. And unfortunately, when I called PayPal the next day, they didn't do anything about it. She ended up getting me for about $3,000. And the person I talked to, it was so ridiculous. And this isn't really on topic, but this just gives you context here. They were like, well, your phone number, you were able to log in with the 2-factor authentication. But I said, I've had this PayPal account for over 15 years. I've had the same phone number on file. Don't you think it's suspicious that I sent myself, or somebody sent themselves $3,000 in the middle of the night and changed the password and changed the phone number? But see, I was at fault because I gave that person my password. And so they were able to log in, and they were able to send the money to themselves. They probably wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything fraudulent, saying I sent it to somebody and it was fraudulent, yet it was me sending it, it was me gifting it to somebody. And that's not what happened. Eventually it got reversed, but that was months later after I called PayPal for a separate issue. And then the lady, she looked at it and she said, no, this is odd. This is weird. She said, this should never happen. And then she finally reverted my money back within about 24 hours. But I let it go. And luckily I was in a position where, it didn't stink. It didn't hurt too much. I kept it moving. But that's really when I started to think, how do I know who I'm hiring? Like, how do you know who you're hiring? How do you know that? Like, this person they had a great demeanor. Their resume said all the right things. She said the right things on the interview, yet she went behind my back and did that. I said, never the freak again. That's not going to happen. And at that point, I became obsessed about figuring out how to pre-screen people in my job. And in my business. And I've actually taken it so far where anybody who I'm considering a work relationship with, a clients that I bring on, yes, I have them. I screen them for their personality types. Some of them I might not bring on based off of that, but if I do, I actually really do cater how I speak with them and how I talk to them, and really, how I present my programs to them based off their personality type. Because like a ESFJ, extroverted sensor, feeler, judger, might value communication over like me, an INTP, introverted, intuitive thinker, perceiver, who just wants the facts, right? I may need to do a little bit more smoozing and be a little bit more long-winded with the ESFJ, rather with, maybe an ENTP or INTJ, rather, I can just be straight to the point. And so understanding this stuff has allowed me to be more empathetic to my fellow man and understand that there is structure to the human experience, not the human experience, to the human psyche. There is structure to like, people aren't random, right? Yes, people have their nuances and quirks where I'm not taking away from anybody's individuality, but there are a set, let me see if I can phrase this right. There are set archetypes, and I would say programs rather, that people and scripts that people live by based off of when they were born, and then based off of their cognitive functions, and based off of and then I think experience factors into that, but really experience really is how they react, right? If you have an INTP and you put me in a situation and it's stressful, it's not going to change my personality. I'm not going to react to that differently based off of the scenario. And I think people, when we talk about this, they don't want to state that there's any absolute truth, because I think that takes a little bit of fate out of people's hands. And nobody's saying that you can't control your own fate. It's just like when you play in a video game. Like, I'm a nerd. I used to play World of Warcraft, and I still, to this day, I don't play as much. I don't play at all, but I do watch videos. I was actually watching some people quest right before this. It's really relaxing and nostalgic for me. So shout out to my WoW heads out there. But in that game, you have an open world map, and you have certain characters, warrior class, you have your human race, you have your night elves. I was a night elf warrior. That was my first character on WoW, a night elf warrior. And there were certain characteristics that the night elf class had over the humans, right? They could do this thing called shadow mail, which is basically turn invisible. It didn't really have any effect on the game. It's not like you turn invisible and escape an enemy, but it was just something cool that you do. Humans, I think dwarves were a little bit naturally more better at, I think, mining as a profession. So these are archetypes, guys. And I know it's a video game analogy, but I hope you're understanding the correlation here, that we have set archetypes that rule this realm that we're in. And as soon as we, as a human species, understand that, we can stop saying that people are just random. And then we can also be more empathetic to why people do certain things, and really appreciate people's quirks or their idiosyncrasies. Everybody has idiosyncrasies. One person may be idiosyncratic to another, but I think that's really what makes authentic humans great, when people are just living in their authentic selves. Now, does that mean I'm going to rock with you if you're authentic self? No, I might be like, okay, hey, cool, man, do you? But bro, like, it's not me. Girl, that's not me. Sis, that's not me. But I'm not don't stop what you're doing. But, we may not sync up like that, and I think that's why understanding personality types and, people's, just their natural tendencies and their characteristics helps. Because then you could just say, hey, man, there's no need to force anything. You're just like, yeah, me and the other person, we just don't sync up. Right. But if we have to work together, I'm going to appreciate them for who they are, as long as they don't overstep boundaries and disrespectful. Even if they do something that's perceived disrespectful, like, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, that's just them, right? I'm interpreting that incorrectly. Guys, I love this stuff because it really allows me to see people for who they are and not be so judgmental. And it helps me see my employees for who they are too. I love talking about this stuff. Let me see if I have any questions over here. Are you guys finding value in this? Am I losing you? Let me know. All right, I'm going to get back into it. Okay, cool. So first off, we need to define the job role. Then we need to prioritize the soft and hard skills of the role. I'm going to close this loop here in a second that I stated, but we have to understand that nobody's superhuman. Okay, when you hire somebody, they're going to be strong in a few areas and weak in others. You have to determine what is acceptable for you, meaning, right, what are the acceptable, if they have quirks, if they're not really good at certain parts of the job, right, or if they're not detailed oriented, is that acceptable for you? So, for instance, acquisitions manager, I don't need them to be detailed oriented. Guys, if you got my acquisitions people are locking up contracts, I'm not going to be anal retentive if they are not completing their KPI sheets. And that was an example from today. We have and one of my clients in California, he's like crushing it right now. Carlos, shout out to you, Carlos. He's locking up a lot of deals. And I went, looked at his KPI sheet, hasn't inputted anything in there for like a couple of days, like a couple of weeks. But guys, he's going through the CRM. He's keeping up with his leads. He has his own process. We get on the daily meetings, and I know he's knocking his calls out. I'm not going to tell him, hey, man, stop what you're doing and upload that KPI sheet and be nitpicky about that. That's stupid. So, but an operations manager whose job is to be detailed oriented, if she doesn't do something I tell her, and I mainly hire women for these roles, guys, we're going to have an issue. So again, that's why we need to define the job role. And then we need to define what's acceptable for, I would say, for that job role. What's more of like, you have to determine what are acceptable, I would say, like flaws for the job role. Like, or what can you look over? Can they lack detail orientation? Can they have, can they be a little bit dry? So as an operations manager, I don't need them to be super enthusiastic. Yeah, one mistake that a lot of investors make, and really business owners in general, and not even business owners, but hiring managers and companies, they hire people that they like. We need to hire people that fill in gaps. And again, we should keep business really professional at all times. And for me, I don't fraternize with my employees. I don't really, care to know what's going on with them in their lives. Because when I have to criticize them or I have to make the decision to fire them, I want that jump to be impersonal. And that's where I'm at right now. I've hired hundreds of people, guys. I've done hundreds of interviews, and I'm able to. I used to not be able to separate. This is gonna sound bad. People from like objects. I had a hard time with that. I looked at people like objects for the longest time because I was so motivated to make this real estate thing work. That was not even in the forefront of my mind. I was like, whatever, like, just serve me. If you suck at your job, it's whatever. But recently, I would say in the last year or so, I've worked a lot on being more diplomatic and then seeing people for who they are. And I'll admit, guys, I've had to slow down in some areas and then catch myself when I've been a little bit shrewd. But still, I would say I still am about business, but my delivery is just a little bit softer when it needs to be. And I try to look at people's situations on an individual situation and give them a little bit of leeway and slack if they're going through something, because I know I will want that too. Okay. So, but also too, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Don't mistake my leniency in some areas for acceptance of you seeing how far you can push me, because once you do that, it's done. You're fired. You're blocked. You're done with. Again, guys, don't try to put the whole business on one employee. Why does this happen? Because you, the owner, lucked out with this hire. Okay. So we want to define the job role. We want to state the tasks that need to be done. I would say priority tasks. Again, guys, if you're a cold caller, example, cold callers, priority task, are calling. Right? Seriously. Their priority tasks are calling. So we want to make sure these guys are on the phones, hitting the phones, guys, and spending most of their time calling. Now, I would say this: once they are performing well, and once they are doing their job really well, you can start cross-training them on similar job roles. For instance, a great cross-training job role for a cold caller is a junior dispositions manager. Okay, so what is that? Basically, cold calling buyers and realtors to move properties we have under contract. Okay, so that's something that we really want to, we really want to focus on once you have some stability in certain positions. So notice I didn't say, hey, cold caller, go and edit the CRM. Now you could give them maybe a task like that if they know how to do it, but we don't want them deviating from the primary subject matter expertise of where they're operating in, because then they're going to have to they're going to have to shift their brain from like calling to ops, and that's just going to make you frustrated because, again, nobody's Superman. I found that somebody who's great at cold calling, generally, I'm not saying there's an exception to the rule. Somebody who's great at cold calling is not going to be great at computer stuff. They're not going to like that. They can do it, but they're not going to do a great job at doing that. So hire somebody from Fiverr, hire somebody part-time for $5 an hour to do that for you. And guys, quit trying to make your friends and family members work in your companies. Like not work, but actually work out in your companies is what I meant to say. So work in your companies, but work out as well. Quit trying to lead horses to the water and make them drink. No, 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 no. Some of you guys may have to go through that in your journey. So I'm not going to say quit doing that. I'm trying to do better about that as well. Not coming across preachy. But I would say this. I would say, if you want to know how the story ends, it never ends well. So if you want to know, if you just want to fast forward and just, use me as an example and countless of the other investors that I know that have hired employees and friends, it never ends well. And then the upside doesn't really outweigh the downside, right? It's not like you guys can work together for a little bit and there's not going to be a falling out or not going to be any bad blood. Guys, just save it. If you love that person, don't do it. Or just say, hey, we're going to do this just for a time. Hey, man, hey, help me out with this area. Help me out in this area in my business. Hey, man, as long as it works for you, great. But guys, if you try to start, being really synced up and putting it, guys, there's just going to be a power struggle, especially if you're friends, where one person might feel some type of way because they may be doing more work than the other person, yet they're still a 50-50 split. Ask me how I know that. Okay. So this is why. So why does this happen? Why do people hire friends and family members? Guys, it's because you don't know how to hire. So you're just reaching for anybody nearby. Oh, this person I met on the street said they have good sales experience. Let me hire them. You don't know how to hire. So the easy thing to do is to reach for the person next to you, to reach for somebody who just comes in your aura, who's like, oh, I can do that. If you're looking for it, you're going to find it. If you don't proactively screen people and proactively start reaching out to people based off of a standard for a particular job role, my friends, you're not going to luck out and just stumble upon an acquisitions manager. I mean, this isn't Pursuit of Happiness. You're not going to find a homeless guy on the street who's going to be a freaking amazing stockbroker. Like, guys, quit it. This ain't Hollywood. Again, you don't know how to hire. That's why you keep on having these issues. I just wish people talked about this stuff, guys. This is advanced level business knowledge here. When I tell you they don't even teach this in MBA courses, Masters of Business Administrations, they don't. The reason why I'm having this live, if you guys didn't catch the beginning of this, and for you guys that are watching this, again, on the replay, I'm going to reiterate this. The reason why I'm doing this live is because I was hanging out with some MBA students literally yesterday, about 30 to 40 of them. And I asked them, because this has actually been on my mind, do they teach this in MBA school? Hiring. They don't. They don't. A Master's of Business Administration, they don't talk anything about hiring staff. That's like realtors going to school and not know, and they don't even cover real estate sales. That's why most realtors suck. Shout out to my realtors that are great. Shout out to you, Joyce in Cleveland, who's got my property listed over there. Just got a full price offer on a home. So shout out to my ones that actually know what they're doing. But the education doesn't stop at school. Realtor school. It doesn't stop at college, university. It doesn't stop at PhD. That's really the start. Guys, again, nothing's going to protect you from getting burned. And so that's why I corrected myself when I said, hey, don't hire family members or friends. I don't think you should do that unless you guys have really understand the roles clearly and understand what the working relationship is going to look like long term, or if there is an end date for it. But what I would say is that we want to make sure that we're focusing on these fundamentals of hiring, and what I'm sharing with you now. This is going to get you by, and you're still going to have some issues in hiring for sure, but you're not going to do anything that's going to basically derail you, because getting in a bad partnership would derail you. So I'm not saying you're not going to have struggles with hiring. I just want to put some left and right, limits on you guys, so you can at least bowl in the lane. You're not bowling and then the ball's going all the way over here, and there's no way in heck you're going to hit your target. If you're riding a bike with training wheels on it, I want to make sure that you're actually riding a bike first, not a motorcycle, right? So we want to make sure you're still going to learn how to ride that bike, and you're still probably going to fall down, but wouldn't it be a less painful and honestly harmful if you are learning to ride a tricycle, or excuse me, a bicycle with training wheels on it, than putting your toddler on a freaking motorcycle? I hope you guys work with me with these analogies. I hope you guys get where I'm coming from here. Okay. So, pointing you guys in the right direction, that doesn't mean you're not going to have struggles. It's just, this is going to make sure you don't have anything that's going to significantly derail you guys. And also, it's fun going through the ups and downs. That's really where I think experience is the best educator. Okay. But these are things that I've learned that really have helped me out after, interviewing guys and probably hiring, again, like hundreds of people, a lot of these virtual assistants, but a lot of Americans, work with a lot of partners, work with a lot of JV partners. And I've literally interviewed all of them, right? Just because we were JV partners didn't mean I didn't have them sell themselves to me, or we didn't establish some sort of boundaries as far as what the left and right limits of each person will be, where my work starts and where my work ends, and then vice versa for the JV partner. So we need to find the role. Partnership, you can replace this with partnership, or JV partner. Okay. Let's see if I have any questions over here. Great. So okay, so next, what we have to do, guys, is again state the priority task. So for cold calling, it's going to be obviously calling and getting in. I would say 700 to 1,100 dials a day with 8 hours of dial time. Okay. Great. So I'll use another example, operations manager. So an operations manager's priority task is administrative, is internal administrative work. So setting up, I would say screening applicants, typing up your minutes of the meeting with your team members. Troubleshooting software is a big one for us. Okay, troubleshooting software, emailing realtors and doing some light TC work. Some TR, if not all. transaction coordination via email, right? They're not required. I would say 90% of their job is going to be computer work. Okay, so this is somebody who I would cross-train on making sure like the HUDs are reviewed, making sure that the packet for like all the parties in our deals, right? The seller packet, realtor packet, the dispo packet, the buyer's packet rather, is all together and to the and it's to the title company, our attorney's office. Okay, that's their job. And you may have your acquisitions manager or dispo manager call behind them just to make sure that they got this. But you don't want your operations manager starting to get involved in communicating with your buyers unless it's like at the tail end of it. But as far as like, hey, did you like asking the buyers, what do you think about that offer? Like that's the gray area there. And we're talking about two different skill sets. We're talking about somebody who's great at internal introverted computer work is not going to be great at talking to buyers and dealing with that. Maybe you could train them on that, but I don't even want them to go there, right? Calling a buyer to see if they, let's just say the buyer wanted, let's just say we're dealing with a contentious buyer who's just being very difficult with our team. We want to get the property up to 10K and, we want a 20K assignment fee and they want to take the price down to 10K and they don't have a legitimate reason. Okay. And just thinking about this too, just logically along the process, you don't want your operations manager not being in the loop with that and then calling the buyer thinking that they're going to be moving forward with that $20,000 assignment fee, but they have an issue with our assignment once they saw it. And what if the operations manager is not in the loop regarding that? And then they call the buyer, and guess what? The buyer chews them out and curses them out. Or they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be a $20,000 assignment. That's going to make you look stupid. So, really your operations manager at that point, you need to teach them every process of the wholesaling company so they know the steps of what needs to happen. So they're not looking stupid. You're not looking dumb. And then also too, the appropriate parties can step in and handle certain parts of the business when needed. Okay. So that's really important. It's just very important, guys, that we don't put work that's not in certain people's skill set to do. Again, these are archetypes. I'm not saying that an introvert who's a computer worker can't stand up to a buyer, but that's not their job. That's not their job. You're going to burn a great employee out, guys, and that's what causes employee burnout. Is you have great employees that are good at one set of job tasks and grouping of job roles rather, and then you try to pull them because they're great at doing this thing. You're great at operations. Oh, you're a great admin assistant. You're great at cold calling. Well, let me pull you now to do dispositions, operations manager, or cold caller. Let me pull you to do admin work. Hey, troubleshoot the software. Or hey, go call these realtors for me. They could, but without giving them training and guidance, that might be a little bit difficult. Or hey, go and go to the auction site and then skip trace manually these registered agents using this new website that I don't even know how to use, and you don't provide any training for them. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. That's how employees get burned out. And honestly, that's how a lot of investors say, well, this person, they started out as a great employee, then they started sucking. Guys, let's take some extreme ownership over here. I know I do. And let's evaluate, did we put our employee in the best position to succeed? Now I can move very quickly with firing decisions and replacing people because I know what the standards are for every single job role that I have. And so I know if somebody's not cutting it. I don't take BS too well, right? You're looking at somebody who majored in BS in college. I've been BS in my whole freaking life. You can't finesse a finesser, baby. So if an employee tries to come in my company and in your company and you don't set the standard for what the squares, what that box they're supposed to be operating in, my friend, you're going to have employees that end up doing work that's not in that job role, but they're going to find work that they're going to find work that they do really well. And then they're going to present it to you and say, look, boss, this is what I'm doing. And next, a month later, you hired them for a cold calling position. And then they're over here, formatting spreadsheets or doing social media for you. What? Oh, well, I kept her on because she was a nice person. She's really good at doing social media. Dude, are you even an influencer? Are you even doing SEO? So guys, like, I've seen this happen so many times. I saw one resume that came across my desk for an operations manager. And no lie, this operations manager, she was an INFP, which, INFPs don't have any business in your business, are running real estate businesses, by the way. So I'm sorry to any INFPs, you don't belong here. Okay. That's just based off my research, empirical evidence, also based off this book, Neuroscience of Personality. Okay. Over 100 years of empirical evidence here on the Myers-Briggs personality framework. You guys aren't fit for sales. So the corporate environment, you can do it, but if you like losing and you're just a glutton for punishment and you're a sadist, go ahead, knock yourself out. But with that being said, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I saw this executive assistant resume come across my desk a few months ago, and this person worked for this company, as an operations manager, not even an executive assistant, but she was an operations manager, and basically the only thing that she did, and I knew it as soon as I saw she was INFP, I think she just proofread all the emails, and I think the copy that the author created for his marketing purposes, not like his books. She didn't proofread those, but she was basically just proofreading emails, not even typing them up, proofreading them, and then proofreading marketing copy. But he hired her as an operations manager. So what happened there? This guy did not define the role, but she was probably a great person, great personality type, and he just let her do whatever she wanted to do. And so she gravitated towards the work that served her in the business. No, not so fast, guys. Not so freaking fast. Not so fast, guys. So these employees will end up playing you if you don't really have some set standards here, guys. I'm telling you, this is very important stuff, guys. You're not going to hear this talked about online. This is stuff that I've only really spoken to with my very high ticket clients that either pay me 10K plus, 10K at a minimum is what I discuss with them. This is really the golden goose right here. But I love talking about this, and I just can't keep this to myself anymore. I can't. For me personally, guys, I love real estate wholesaling. I love marketing. But you got to understand, too, I've been talking about that and then the same concepts for years. And I love just breaking up and talking about this. Again, this may not get as many views as the best virtual markets to go to in 2024. But again, sometimes you got to do stuff that serves you as well. So I appreciate you guys that find this interesting. I think you will find value out of what I'm discussing here. Okay. So let's go ahead and move forward. So step 2. That was a long step 1. Oops. Sorry about that. So step 2 is, man, this thing is, these notes sort of irking me right here. So it's all good. Okay, so step 2, we are going to, once we define the job role, guys, we then need to determine if they're the right fit. So what hard skills do they have Or actually, do they have the hard skills for the job? Do they have the hard skills needed for the job? Okay. Do they have the correct MBTI needed for the job? And this is 16 personalities type. Okay. Then do they, I would say after this, this just depends. Do they have the necessary Clifton strengths in their top 10 for the job? I would say this is mainly for operations. For me personally, I look at this for operations. So before I hire anybody with operations, I have them take Clifton Strength Finders. And so that's a paid test. It costs like $60. So I don't have everybody take that. I'm definitely not a cold caller. But my operations people, because there's certain Clifton strengths that I'm looking for. And I'm usually looking for achiever, activator, responsibility, any purple themes, executing themes I'm looking for, because these are people that could basically just do from the sun up to sundown. They're like generators based off of their human design profile. Okay. So do they have the necessary Clifton strengths in their top 10 to get the job done? Effectively. All right. So let me back up here. Do they have the hard skills needed for the job? And most investors stop here. Actually, most hiring managers or employers, business owners, it's interchangeable. Stop here. Well, looks like you know how to use back Giler. Come on in, buddy. Oh, well, you say you closed 5 deals last week. Hey, man, there's a room for you. You know what? You're really good on the phone. You have a great voice. Come on, man. Hey, you're really nice, bro. You want a job? Dude, what are we doing here, man? I'm joking, but I've been there before. I've been there before. I make myself laugh. But guys, most business owners stop here. Like, you know, and I mean, it's really worse than that. In the worst case scenario, people, hiring managers go with who they like. And that's probably the worst thing that you can do. And if you feel like you can't be unbiased when making these decisions, guys, you know, give it to somebody else. That's why there's talent agencies out here, talent recruiting agencies. That's why there's consultants and talent management, you know, and hiring and stuff like that. You know, consult somebody. You know, I hire consultants for me, and I'm a consultant, right? You know, so we all need help in areas that we're weak at. Okay, so do they have the correct MBTI 16 personalities needed for the job? So I would say, as a cold caller, I'm looking for an ENFJ or ESFJ. Really, probably more of an ENFJ, because ESFJs aren't really going to be detail oriented. ENTJs could work, but I would say, but their burnout rate is high because they want to advance in their career. Like, this is monotonous for them. Okay, so I would say for acquisitions, I'm usually looking for an ESFJ for that role, hands down. Yeah, probably only an ESFJ for that role. Like again, or an ENTJ, but meh, meh, not too people oriented. They're not motivated to solve people problems. They're more motivated by hitting like sales quotas. Yeah, it's just my experience with ENTJs. For operations, we hire INTJs. Right? Excuse me. I'm sorry. ISTJs only. Only ISTJs. Only ISTJs. Right, guys. These this is it, guys. After hundreds of hires and then analyzing this stuff internally, I'm saying this to you easily, like very just like easily right now, but this is like years of experimenting. I held on to this a long time. I really started to create a database last year around January, and I talked about this a little bit, but now I can say with certainty these are like the personality types I'm looking for. Now I would say this with more of like I would say this. When it comes to hiring from the Philippines, I'm more strict with screening for personality types. For cold calling, and I would say and acquisitions, follow up, like a lead manager or follow up specialist. You could go. I with Americans, I go off of their resume. And scenario based questions on the job interview. Okay. So, like, I'll ask them how to overcome X, Y, and Z objective, or explain novations to me as if I'm a seller. Right. So, I'm not going to ask them what's ARV, or how many sales have you completed in the last year, or what are your greatest strengths? No, I'm going to go deep and make sure they understand the subject, make sure they're really a subject matter expert. That's the best way to put it at their position. Okay. So, I do, if they are able to answer these questions articulately and succinctly, and they're not ambiguous with their answers, then I would say I don't, pretty much this will answer my question as far as like whether they're an ESFJ or ENTJ. But if they're like an ESFJ, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I would know that, because they just are enthusiastic. They're they want to solve people problems. They open up and they give me more information about different deals that they've closed and times that they've helped sellers. Super positive people, right? Just love communicating with people, just love their fellow men and women. Okay. Right. Those are the type of people that we really want in an acquisitions role. Again, I don't like ENFJs for acquisitions. I like them for cold calling. Again, that's probably another topic as far as like the nuances. I would probably need to go and like over the cognitive functions, because some of you guys may say, well, this is just an N and S. What's the big difference here? I just found that ENFJs are very customer servicey. And I found that ESFJs come across nice and friendly, rather respectful, but they know when they're put the foot down and do it in a way that's tactful as well. That's what I love about USFJs. You guys could really set some strong boundaries and still make it seem like a win-win. Love you guys for that. That's, INTPs myself and ESFJs are like polar opposites when it comes to that. So I admire ENFJs as well, but I think ESFJs really have a knack for doing that, and I love it. Operations, ISTJs only, and so I only hire from the Philippines for operations. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what my database looks like here. Again, guys, I could talk about this stuff for hours. Oops. Let me hide this first column here. Okay, so I practice what I preach. So every person that we that we consider for any position in the company, they have to, at least if they're from the Philippines, they have to give us the birthday, their MBTI, and then their birthday. And that's another thing I'm looking for too. I didn't write that down there, but I don't make hiring decisions based off of the birthday, really. It's more of like, well, I do and I don't. Sort of a gray area for me. It's not really black and white as far as I'm only looking to hire. Like, I won't hire anybody born on May 27th. I would never hire anybody born in June. Guys, I just hired an ISTJ, and she was born June 23rd. Yes, June 23rd. And that is, looking at my book here. That is the day of interpersonal enchantment. And really nothing really stood out to me as far as, this being's, her birthday profile was neither like work related, but it's not like her birthday profile got in the middle of work. And, but she's solid. And I think, honestly, I like her personality because I haven't really worked with a lot of people in June. I've been very dogmatic about hiring people, and strict rather, about hiring people in like April and in May and March. And it's been a little bit dry. I know what I'm getting with those people. And so it's just good sometimes to change things up for me. So yeah, my most recent ops manager I hired was born June 23rd. And that's a Gemini Cancer cusp. So their strengths are magnetic, enchanting, romantic. Weaknesses: indiscreet, prying, over-involved. And I don't really mind these weaknesses. And if you guys want to see the book that I'm looking at here, I'm going to stop my background. It's this book right here, Secret Language of Birthdays. And so what I'll do is I'll just look at their birthday profile, see if anything pops out for me. For this one, I'm not really seeing anything that pops out, really, as far as a negative. Now, there have been some people where I just like haven't hired them if I was on the cusp of not hiring them just because I saw something in their birthday profile. Like if you have Robin Williams' birthday, I'm probably not going to hire you. So I keep on forgetting when he was born. I think like mid-July. Yeah, July. So he was July 21st. Okay, so I'm going to read you guys just his birthday profile. Okay, so back up. So really with this, I would say if I'm trying to determine between like 4 ISTJs are 4, like these 4 ENTJs for a cold calling position, then the tiebreaker would be the birthday profile. Okay. That's what the tiebreaker would be. And if I see something in the birthday profile, I'm like, I like that. like I'll hire them, especially if they have all the same MBTI, because you'll see in a lot of careers, most of these, most of the people that apply will be like a handful, maybe like 2 or 3 um, personality types. Like most of the people that applied were freaking ENTJs and ENFJs, probably over 60%, right? So how do you determine who to choose? Well, if they all, we go off their hard skills, and then we go off of their birthday profile. So I would say in order, I look at, if I'm hiring a cold caller or people from the Philippines, I'm going to look at their MBTI first, and then, I'm going to look at their hard skills, and then I'm going to look at the MBTI. They have to have done the job before, then MBTI, and then their birthday profile, right? So if somebody has real estate experience and their MBTI, and then they're all freaking ENFJs, how do I determine who I'm going to hire? Well, I'm going to look and see what's in their birthday profile. And this helps me get an idea of who I'm hiring without having to spend $60 each screening to do a Clifton Strengths Finders. Really, my preference would be to do Clifton Strengths Finders for everybody. But that takes 40 minutes, and then it's $60. So I don't like, my whole thing. I think the issue is with this industry, like this pre-screening industry, is more of like too many companies try to make people take tests. And what I want to do is go off of one test, MBTI. Most people know this, or this takes 15 minutes to take, 10 to 15 minutes. And then everybody has their birthday, right? And then I can make inferences about who somebody is based off of these 2 stats without them having to take tests. That's really why I'm doing this, right? I want to know who I have and how I can evaluate people with certainty with bringing them on without having to take tests. Now, when I have them take tests, that actually confirms for me who I'm bringing on, right? My ops person, Glenna, that I brought on, I already pretty much knew that she was going to have the top 10 Clifton Strengths Finders I was looking for the Clifton Strengths Finders I was looking for in her top 10. Activator and what was the other one? Activator and it was another executing theme. Achiever. I needed that in her top 10. Achiever I need for me personally, because I'm a strategic thinker and I have a lot of ideas. Ideation's number 2 for me with my Clifton Strengths Finders. So I need somebody who could just execute. I can give them 100 tasks and they're like, yep, boom, 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 and they knock them all out. So I don't need to hire somebody like me who's a strategic thinker. No, nothing's going to get done. I've got that covered. I've got all the strategic thinking things covered. I need people that can do stuff for me. This is why companies stall out. Guys, this is next level stuff here. This is next level stuff here. And this isn't, really, I may not, people may not be super interested in it, because I get it. You guys follow me and you want to learn how to get deals. Those are probably going to be the videos that get the most views. And for me, it's a little bit disheartening. I get it. Because I'm in a different position in my company now, right? Deals are flowing, closing up deals. I figured that out. I know a lot of people follow me to get that information. But if I can plead to you and beg you, essentially, to listen to me and to, maybe give this stuff some thought, I think this will really allow you to avoid a lot of the costly mistakes that I made in my company over the years. But yeah, so Glenna, she was an ISTJ, and she's is an ISTJ born in June 23rd. Oh, well, before I get there, I was going to talk to you guys about Robin Williams' personality type. But as I was going there, I saw July 17th, and that's the day of career concerns. I don't know if you guys can see that. The day of career concerns. And so I'm just going to read like the first sentence here, and you guys let me know if this is somebody you want to hire on your team. Those born on July 17th often manifest a great urge to become a star or rise to the top in their career. Yet this desire is bellied by their modest, serious, or even shy demeanor. Now, if I'm dealing with an ESFJ, that will balance out that shy demeanor. Okay, so that's why you have to take the MBTI and the birthday profile into consideration. So one should not mistake their quietness for passivity or reclusiveness. However, in their chosen field of endeavor, they are dynamic personalities to be reckoned with. Behind a serious exterior often lies a fine sense of humor, which comes out when they are relaxed. Less highly involved individuals born on this day may be frustrated with their lives because they have not yet discovered their strengths nor acknowledge the latent ambition that simmers within them. So, guys, that's somebody who I would hire, who I would feel comfortable hiring. Like some of these birthday profiles are centered around work. Others are not. Others are very family oriented, and I've not chosen people because of that. Like operations managers, I would say with operations managers, I judge them, not judge them. I make them jump through a lot more hoops, and I study them rigorously. Rigorously. I've been talking all day. Excuse me. And in depth before I hire them. So the closer you are to me, the closer that you are in my circle and my C-level suite in my business, the more that I need to evaluate you just to make sure that you're not going to come in my business and F stuff up because I'm pissed off. Right. But that's on me. So, so I know when I make hires that are my ops manager, like for instance, when I made the hire with Glenna, I already knew. I was like, okay, guys, day one, more like day two, she had my credit card information. Cool. There you go. I knew who I was getting with her because I screened her based off all these data sets here that I'm looking at. So I like that. Now, Glenna, my current ops manager, she was born in July 21st. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so let's talk about Robin Williams. His birthday. And Ernest Hemingway was born on this day. Guys, tortured souls were born on this day, literally. This is the day of the tragicomic artist. The day of tragicomic controversy. They have some weird words in here. TRGICOMIC controversy. Okay, so here's just the first paragraph. Try as they may, those born on July 21st cannot stay out of trouble for very long. Somehow, a storm is usually brewing around them, often one with tragicomic overtones. Surprisingly enough, this can be equally true of quiet people born on this day. They seem to get caught up in exciting or unpredictable happenings, not of their own doing. A more flamboyant July 21st person is, of course, more likely to be at least partly responsible for stirring up such excitement. Guys, I'm not going to ever hire somebody born on July 21st in my company. I'm not. I hired somebody in July 20th, the day of ups and downs, and last year, and she did not pan out. The day of ups and downs. Those born on July 20th often live lives where they rise to the heights and descend to the depths. This metaphor of being alternately up and down can be central to their occupational, emotional, family, or social life, as well as their dreams and hobbies. Such rising and falling activity is as integral to their personality as the seasonal changes are to nature. I'm not hiring somebody if I'm depending on them in my company with this profile. Guys, does this mean that these people are not employable? I mean, that's to be seen, but I don't think we could give these people any position of true responsibility in our company. No. Yeah, they can work in a Fortune 500 company where, I mean, even in a Fortune 500 company, I don't even think everybody has to pull their weight. Guys, some people I think are just unemployable. Now, here's a silver lining. If you know you were born on one of these days, I'm going to be honest, guys, these mid-July dates, and I'm not discriminating because I was born on July 31st. So, but Cancer, Leo, cusp, guys, the people born like in July 20th, 21st, guys, July 22nd is called the day of occupational fluctuation. Those born on July 22nd will have a difficult time keeping their careers on an even keel. I'm not hiring you. I'm sorry. So there's some birthdays that I just would not freaking hire for. Yeah, day of July 23rd, the day of uncertainty resolvers, those born on July 23rd face a recurring theme of uncertainty in their lives. More highly evolved people on this day are ultimately successful in resolving uncertainties, either personally for themselves or professionally for others. Less highly evolved people born on this day suffer from periodic identity crises in which profound doubts about themselves and highly self-critical attitudes surface. Guys, this this world that we're living in, it may be difficult to realize this, but it wasn't meant for us to work in a corporate environment. Our not everybody's journey is tied to not everybody's soul's journey is tied to corporate environment, corporate advancement. Okay. Okay. So you need money to survive. I get that. But not everybody is meant to work in a corporate environment, and they're not going to be a good fit for them for that. They're not. So the sooner we realize this, the sooner we can start making some actual decisions, regardless of how non-politically correct they are, about bringing people in your company. Again, what if you went to the doctor in India, or you went to a doctor in Africa, you went to a doctor in France, you went to a doctor in freaking Alaska, and you were dealing with, a broken leg, and in India they said, well, you're an American. I don't know you humans from America. I don't know if we can really help you out here. You go to Alaska. Oh yeah, you're from the Southeast, man. We're really used to helping Americans out with broken legs in Alaska. Can't help you. Bye. You go to freaking Africa. Hey man, dude, you African Americans, we deal with Africans over here. So you got a broken leg. We can't really deal with your anatomy. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Because we understand there's a baseline as far as we're all human. Our anatomy is the same. I think it's time. And there wasn't a time where this was like this. People were doing lobotomies on people because they thought certain races and people from different regions had different, their brains were different. Like some people were subhuman, which is wild. It's wild to say that, but that wasn't too long ago, 100+ years. Okay. So with personality typing, this is something I want to see in our lifetime. Us have an actual similar map of the human psyche and these human archetypes. So we actually have some sort of foundation. If we don't have any truth, and there's no absolute truth to anything personality based, well, of course, hiring is going to seem chaotic, and it's going to seem random, and it's going to seem like, man, I just can't find the right fit. Why can I find the right person to work for me? Well, maybe I'll look at some more resumes and maybe I'll get lucky. Go gamble if you're trying to get lucky. I try to take all the uncertainty out of my business. And this has helped me do this. Regardless of how woo-woo it sounds or crazy, guys, it works. And I'm a person where I focus on analytics. And so it's not like, if this stuff was not empirically sound and I didn't test it, I wouldn't be talking about this. It just so happened that I stumbled upon this. I went out and started searching. I was like, one thing led to another. That led to that. There were other personality frameworks I used, and none of them really stuck like the birthday profiles, MBTI, 16 personality types, and Clifton Strengths. Those are the three that really have stuck, and I'm able to make some great hiring decisions. So this isn't something where I just was like, it's not. It's not like woo woo or anything. I woke, like I've been, thinking about this. Like I read horoscopes or something like this when I was younger. I always thought astrology was like crazy, and all this stuff. Like you talk to me about it, I'll be like, man, did you get that stuff out of my face? But You never knock it up until you study it. That's my thing. Once I start studying it, now there's some things like Enneagram, I don't think there's not validity to that. It's just difficult to apply. I think it's too ambiguous. There's like DISC. I think DISC is way too ambiguous to apply as well. You can't it's very difficult creating it, it's just too difficult to apply. I need to get my words together to explain that in a later live. Same thing with IQ, right? IQ doesn't really tell us if they would be great at certain job roles. I guess that's what I mean with DISC. DISC doesn't tell us based off of these factors that this person would be good at a certain job role. Now, if they're like this person high D, they'll be great at sales. Okay, does that mean they'll be a great cold caller? Well, some high D are, some aren't. Okay, well, at least with this, I can say ENFJs generally 80% of the time will make great cold callers. ESFJs will make great acquisitions managers. And then also too, stating that some personality types just won't be a great fit at all, right? INFPs don't have any business in my business. Guys, if you have ever said that you're an introvert or if you're an extrovert, then you have to take in the totality of the evidence and believe the validity of what I'm telling you. Because introverts, extroverts, that word has been implanted in the collective consciousness because of Myers and Isabel Briggs. Okay. And then that came from Carl Jung. So that was built off of Carl Jung, and Carl Jung was alive in 1800. So we're talking about over 100 years of data here. So we're not talking about something that just may have became popular now, but we're talking about something that has a lot of validity backing it. And I'm an analyst at heart, so I'm not going to sit here and take information that does not rigorously tested. I need to stop saying that word today. I'm gonna get it right. Rigorously tested. Let me just say it fast. And I'm not going to take that information, and if it doesn't have analytical rigor behind it, and apply it to teaching. Apply it to my job, my business. I'm not going to do that. So, guys, I'm going to stop there. We'll do another live later. Again, this was impromptu. I love doing these. I'll probably do a series of these. If you guys found value out of it, let me know. I'll have something prepared a little bit later on. Might go live on Sunday. Just really trying to figure out the best days and times to go live. So I'm testing out a few different times, seeing who else joins. If you want to work with us, guys, you can always click on the top left of the screen here. It'll take you to a Google Sheet. I'll share this with you. You guys can fill this form out. Make sure it's not sharing. Yeah, you guys can fill this form out, and then my team will reach out to you. Okay, just give us a little bit because we're trying to catch up on calls right now. So quick little form, take you like 5 minutes to fill out, and then we'll reach out. All right, guys. Hope you found value out of this. I will chat with you guys later. Peace.